Hello, everybody. Hi. This is Martha Creek, and I'm here in service to those who serve. And this is the third night of 3 nights of Signs of Life. And the call is being recorded so that others that can't be here tonight can hear it. And so that those of us who are here tonight can rehear it if we want to, because there's quite a bit of information that comes through relative to these signs of life. And at any time you want to speak without being recorded, please just stop the recording, and you're free. And that is your right and your responsibility to do that, to make that request if you don't want whatever you share to be on recording. You're also free to close your camera if that serves you. I love seeing you. And if you feel more comfortable or there's any reason why that would bring greater ease to you to go ahead and do that, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. All right, we'll start with hi, Sue. Hi, Sue and Bonnie. Happy birthday again, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Let's have hi, Sue. Sue is way down in Peru, y'all. So literally from all points of the world here. Let's start with a big deep breath. And presence yourself, including all parts of you. The part that is in a challenge, the part that is in doubt or worry or confusion, the part that may be tired. The parts that wonder, wish, want, need, dream. No part left out tonight. And one of the objectives of our coursework for me was a greater experience of divination, of the divine. So be aware of your breath and that you're being breathed. And then be aware that all the parts of us make up our wholeness. Our fright, our fear, our doubts, our worries, our confusion, our bewilderment. Everything in our experience is of the divine as well. Make room for all the parts, all of you, Alpha to Omega. It's all welcome here. I'll read a little poem by Antonio Machado, and I'll put it in the chat in a little bit, the whole poem. Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt. A marvelous error. Last night as I was sleeping, I dreamt, marvelous error, that I had a beehive here inside of my heart. And the golden bees were making white honeycombs and sweet honey from all my old failures. I had a beehive here inside my heart. I have a beehive here inside my heart. And the golden bees are making white honeycombs and sweet honey from all my old failures. I dreamt. Then we ask this question, then I'll ask you to be open to receive whatever comes, a feeling, an image, a phrase, a word. What would spirit, what would the divine have you to know right now? And would you ask it out loud? You're all on mute. Ask the question out loud to God, the divine higher source, the golden honeybees. Ask to that place, what would you have me to know? And then as you're ready, open your eyes and write down what you heard or felt, or draw the image, whatever came, just put it on paper if you can in any format. And please don't try to do it right. Maybe an image and you think, oh, I couldn't possibly draw that. Just let it draw, see what happens. Okay, I just put the poem in the chat too, as I said I would. Welcome, Greg and Carrie. So glad you made it on here, honey. And Sue, so happy to see you, honey. Hi.
Happy to see everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody willing to share what you saw or felt or your image? What, Sue, go, honey. Yeah. Unmute, honey, so we can hear you. Now go.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Mine came right away. I mean, even before you finished it, I heard you're in the right place as you always are. Trust yourself. And then in a minute, I heard your equipment is good. Use it. And I knew what that meant. I knew that I've been wanting to exercise and move more. And my brain is good. I mean, it was like I laughed at it because it was a humorous last.
Yes.
It's good. Use it.
Wow. Beautiful, honey.
Very clear.
Thank you. Very clear. Yeah, thank you, honey. You know, some of when in groups like this, I believe all the messages you got were for me too. So I listen like, oh, I got my own message, which is funny, and I'll just share it now that I'm speaking. Mine was, you're wrong about most of it. You're wrong about most of everything. Yeah. Oh, what a relief, huh? Well, so I'll be listening now to y'all share as, oh, these are the rest of my messages. Like, okay, your equipment is good. You're in the right place. You're right where you're supposed to be. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else willing to speak or share or show? Okay, Jean, go, honey.
Okay. I heard right away, I take care. I know. Because I'm not in charge. That's always one of the biggest things I have learned and deal with and handle. And I'm really glad at least I'm aware of it. But I take care. I know. And I just saw like two hands doing this. And
Oh,
well, that felt so, it was like, oh, just on like the world, just there, those hands. I liked that. So thank you all.
yeah. Beautiful, honey. Thanks for sharing, Jean.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Monica. Hi, honey. Anybody else?
Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right, honey. Go, Sue. Glad you made it in, honey.
Thank you. So the message I heard is that everything is alchemy, to be transmuted and transformed. And the image I saw was of a flame.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Everything is alchemy, to be transformed and to be transmuted. Everything is alchemy. Burn, burn, burn. Thank you, sweetheart. Anybody else? Carrie. And Bonnie.
Okay. I got, I am here now. And then I just kind of got this whoosh of presence with me. And as I tried to draw it, I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. And so I kind of drew like wind, and then this person sitting in the middle of the wind. And what I felt compelled to do is this little stick man needed this cross for the body and the arms. So there was that cross, meaning relationship, that kind of stuff. So that felt really good for me.
Oh, beautiful, honey. I've got a sense of it myself, even as the way it came through you is affecting me also. Like I have some sense of what that may have meant to you. What position was your cross in your
Let me look for a second. It was in 3, relationship.
So that's the dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about it again tonight. Bonnie, go. Thank you, Carrie.
I got, am I off mute? Yeah. No matter what happens during your knee replacement surgery and after, you can handle it. You have the tools. That's really big for me.
It is
I've
funny.
I've
That
had
is,
this, I've had this worry and it's like, no, I'm an adult. I can handle this. Yeah.
yeah. You can handle this. Yay, you. Yay, you. Anybody else? Just unmute and speak or raise your hand. Julie, go, honey.
I got, I'm here, I love you, it's all okay. Release your burdens, they're not yours. And what I drew was like a stick figure person holding a bar with two like pots. That's what I saw, like two round pots that were heavy. And then the next thing was laying on the ground, if I could draw, right, walking away from a stick and two broken pots. So that works for me.
Powerful, honey. Yes. Yes, what's it? What's your position called, honey? Shavasana? Like take a new position.
Yeah.
Oh, powerful for me too, honey. Anybody else? At any time, there's no requirements here. It's just an open invitation. And at any time throughout the course for tonight, you may want to speak or share it. You're welcome to then too. And I'll encourage you, tonight's class is about integrating what we've covered in weeks 1 and week 2, and looking again at the symbols and the positions. And those of you, if you haven't had, I've got the recordings of class 1 and 2 if you want them. And if you haven't already asked me, just email me marthacreek@gmail.com and I'll send them over to you. So let's look then at our symbols. So get out the ones that you drew. Those of you that drew the symbols, and look at just reconnect to them. All 5 symbols, all 5 signs, all 5 universal shapes. And we're going to look then at what we can further learn from them. So the encouragement for tonight is to look at the symbols that you put in positions 1, 3, and 5. So maybe highlight them or circle them or just draw them again. Maybe take them out of the 5 and draw the ones that you have in positions 1, 3, and 5 again. And then we'll do this for a few minutes here, and I'll see if I can demonstrate it through this drawing. So here's a drawing of a mandala. See that one? And that's the square, the circle, the triangle. See that? So then that's another example of it. The circle, the square, the triangle. And that's another example of it. The triangle more dominant. A circle and a square. So pick the 3 symbols that you have in positions 1, 3, and 5, and just doodle with them. Those 3, just those 3. Doodle with those 3 and draw mandala without trying to do it right, without trying to be an artist, without trying to be impressive. Just give the pen to your hand and work with the 3 symbols in positions 1, 3, and 5. So be aware of just whatever you're experiencing. And if you start to try to do it right or get a little too perfectionistic-y or something like that, try to drop that. And just go back to more of a free hand doodling presence to the shapes. Any resistance to this? Anything that's would try to talk you out of it, just notice that if so.
I'm just really glad you said it didn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, that's, I think, Monica, thank you, honey. It's important for me to hear that. Yeah, instead of trying to make it, I even hesitated showing these examples because to my mind, that doesn't, believe that I'm all that artistic or whatever. I'd be trying to copy these, for example, instead of like, let me just give the pen to my hand and see what comes out of it. So let me read now. So just pause there if you can, or keep doodling, and then I'll read a little bit about what Carl Jung said about this. First of all, that daily practice is vital to transformation. This means taking some deliberate action each day to access and support the process symbolized in these signs. Drawing mandalas is one way to do this. Other possibilities could be writing in your journal, poetry, playing music, or simply meditating. Daily practice is vital to transformation. Have you heard this before? Oh, not just a theory, but something that I will need to give some attention to daily. Carl Jung pointed out symbols are linked with the deepest structure of the human psyche. Integrating symbols externally sets up an inner experience that contributes to personal harmony and greater balance. Integrating symbols externally sets up an inner experience of greater personal harmony and balance. This is why working with these primary symbols from positions 1, 3, and 5 begins to create a symbolic structure to support your personal transformation of energy. Would that be all right? What if it could be this simple? Now, anything you want to speak about, share, or inquire about regarding that was 5 minutes of drawing mandala. What did you notice, experience, feel, think about? Anybody want to speak about that from the few minutes that we had there to externally work with the symbols? Or anybody want to show and tell their doodling? Let us see what you drew, maybe. Susan? Mhm.
Nobody else is gonna go, I'll go. What I notice is whenever I draw, I think it just focuses, it just instant focus, which I enjoy because there's something about focus that also frees my head. So, and these are my drawings, and then I was only drawing one symbol at a time, and then I started doing multiple in each one, and so it was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, can you see him again, honey? If you just hold him up there, let me see him again. So take a look here, y'all. The cross and circle and square.
Those are my 1, 3, and 5.
Uh-huh.
And at first I thought that this was gonna be the hardest, but it turned out to be the most fun.
Wow, the cross.
Yeah.
Which position was that in, honey?
Um,
Your cross. You're muted again, honey.
accidentally hit my computer with my elbow. The cross is 5 for me, the 1 is the circle, and the 3 is the square.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Sue Hager. Mhm. I've got 3 Sues here. Mhm.
Yeah, well, another Susan didn't enjoy it as much as the first Susan.
Uh-uh.
I don't really doodle or draw much, so I didn't take a great deal of enjoyment. Interestingly, I also have the circle, the cross, and the square, but not in the same order. Yeah, so I do like following instructions and doing my best, but I didn't really enjoy the exercise.
Thanks for giving voice to it, honey. Any kind of besides the I'm not enjoying this, anything else? Like, are you aware of any other part that could lean toward there could be something here?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I noticed that I had a preference as time went on because I drew 3, 6, 7 different images. And I could start to see where I liked the circle more than where I liked the square and so on. So to that extent, I could see that I was just noticing preference showing up for where I wanted things to be.
Yeah. Yeah. If you saw this as alchemy, honey, instead of doodling, how would that shift it? Like
Well,
the-
it did, as you read afterward, by Carl Jung, then I started to see it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I would too, honey. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's interesting because I meant to read it before we started and I did it backwards. So yeah, Jean Myman.
Don't be sloppy, Jean. That's one thing when I was doing it. Oh, that looks sloppy. It's one of the things I saw. I heard, but I kept on and I did the spiral, the circle, and the square. And I really enjoyed doing it. And then when I was doing it one set, they all connected. I did the spiral, then I went larger with the circle, and then it just kind of went on around with the square. I thought that was interesting. And then I don't know, I enjoyed this. Again, I'm not an artist, but I really did like this. So
It sounds like you're welcome, honey. It sounds like you got some play in there. Yeah.
It's good. Thank you.
So I want to encourage this in any way you can, just when you're sitting around waiting somewhere or in a doctor's office, or if you're using these electronics, open up a white pad and just poke around a little bit, put all the symbols out there or these 3 and just connect with them in some way. If it has any meaning whatsoever, like don't drop it just yet, like give it a fair chance. To see what transformation you may notice or alchemy or whatever you want to call it here. To play with it. Anybody else before I move on? Carrie.
Yeah, as I was drawing and you were saying, just don't worry about being right or wrong or anything. What hit me really hard was, what if there is no wrong? What if there just isn't any?
Yes.
You know? Ooh. But also something that was interesting to me is I had the spiral, the cross, and the square. And for some reason I was trying to draw a square, you know, the square as stability, and it was square. But then when I tipped it on its side, all of a sudden it felt so much better. It was on a point.
Yes.
And it just
Yes.
felt so good. And also I was filling in the square in most of my doodles, but in one of them, I did the square, and then I put the spirals at each corner of the square, and it's at an angle, and then there's just a cross, not connecting anything in the middle. And I really liked that one. There's just space in all of that I liked, and there wasn't any limitation there either, was what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how it's coming to you, honey. Mhm. Thank you for speaking it. Judith?
I love this. I could doodle all day long.
Mhm.
You know, and this is the one place where my perfectionism just goes out the window. So I could feel my shoulders drop the minute you say doodle. So I was working with the circle, the triangle, and the square. And there were a couple of things that I found. I tried, so I first did a bunch of things that were not necessary, that weren't really contained. And I found that made me really uneasy. And I tried, I did the same thing. I turned the square on its side and turned it into a diamond, and that felt better.
Mhm.
But what I ended up with, and I've been thinking a lot, because the square is my position 5, and that really struck me very profoundly last week. And I've been thinking a lot about it and recognizing how that sense of stability and my aversion to it, or whatever the right word is, has really played out in my life in so many scenarios and in so many different ways. And so it has been a great exercise this week to really be living in that. But so then I ended up, what I found is I feel I'm much more comfortable when anything is contained inside my circle. And when I contained my square inside my circle, I'm so much more comfortable, and I could recognize then that the square is actually part of something inside me in a different way. And it doesn't have to be the foundation that holds it together, which is like
Right.
how I was thinking about it,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah,
it.
that's how it, can I see it again, honey?
Yeah.
Because I was having my own experience of it, which is the stability is within my wholeness. So the circle is a representation of the wholeness of me. And that my stability is within that wholeness. It's not the outer. So I was experiencing the way you were describing it too. That stability is within the wholeness, not the outside of it. Yeah, it's beautiful, honey. So keep drawing, honey, and maybe color these or paint these or
Mhm.
put some marker on them or something, you know.
Letting out my pastels.
There you go. There you go. honey. Yeah. Beautiful. Susan Rios.
Just want to share a little insight that I was having after having my own experience with it and listening to everybody else. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just like life. There would be a zillion ways of doing this, but I'm limited by my own imagination, my own thoughts, which is so true of my whole life.
Absolutely.
Wow, what in my life am I limited by? That limited thinking that I don't have to be.
Say it again.
That whole thing. That I am only limited by my own thoughts, my own imagination, my own sense of what I think is possible. And so if I can think of zillions of ways, I can't even think of zillions of ways to do these shapes now, but it's something to work on. And it just struck me as like, whoa, symbols really have a deeper meaning. I really connected with that I didn't I missed last week. I really didn't want to, but the first week when we did these, I thought, oh, this is interesting, but it's like, wow, the deeper you go into it, the deeper you go into it.
That's been my experience too, honey. And I really hesitated even trying to bring this forward because I didn't know how I'd give words to it or how I would do justice to it. So y'all have been such troopers to just hang in here and get what we could out of it.
Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Did you just arbitrarily choose 1, 3, and 5, or was there a reason you chose 1, 3, and 5?
No, that's from the text, honey, the book. That's considered the positions that are the ones that are important right now, the ones that that indicate that there's something going on for us right now. That these energies are to be tended to, so to speak.
Mhm.
Huh. And is this the book that we're not supposed to get until the end?
Yeah,
I'm dying to see this book.
yeah. Well,
I
here,
get it.
here's the front of it, and they're available on Amazon, for like $5 or something. So get you one. Yeah.
But you don't want us to get it until we're done, right?
Well, we're done, honey. Tonight's the last night.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. Tonight's the last night, so order up. And it was, I didn't want it to be, like a theoretical approach to this. Like trying to follow what the book said or whatever. I really just wanted you to experience it the best you can. So that's why I asked you to consider waiting about getting the book. Yeah. But tonight is our third of the 3, so we're done. Yeah.
But I do have to say, I'm just going to jump in. I love the way you opened the first, when you had us look at that picture. Before we even got into what the symbols were and how much, if I think back to what my reaction to that was, what pieces stood out to me and how and in what sequence really makes sense as we started to understand what they meant.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really brilliant way to start, Martha.
Well, thank you, honey. Yeah. It meant so much to me. I just had to. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Ron. The author's name, and I'm going to put this in the chat too, and I'm going to spell it, is Angelise, like Los Angeles, similar, Angeles. And the last name is Arrien, Arrien. And the official title is Signs of Life. And the subtitle is The 5 Universal Shapes and How to Use Them. Did that capture it? Was there any other question anybody's had that I didn't address? Oh, Monica, would you unmute, honey, so I can hear you?
Sorry about that. I was going to show you my pictures, but I don't remember how to unblur myself.
Put it right in front of your camera and I'll be able to see it, honey. Back it up just a little.
See, it stays blurry.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Maybe I might get you to take a picture with your cell phone or something and send it to me later. Yeah.
Okay. I was just surprised at myself because when I drew the first, what you call doodles, I thought that was it. And then I don't know what it was that you said, but I drew 2 different aspects of it after that. And they're quite interesting to me.
They are. Yeah.
That it's possible to have 3 symbols and they look so different just by drawing them differently.
Absolutely, honey. Absolutely. And just changing the size or shape. Some of the other women referred to turning their square on its point. And then even in that little example I showed, they made the triangle the larger one. And then once the square was the larger one. And then in Judith, she had the circle largest and the square inside. It changes everything about it. And it felt, so 2 or 3 of you said it felt better. It felt different. It felt better when I repositioned it a little bit. Yeah. So it's just about noticing. Let me read then. This is from the book, right out of the book, and it's a story called Dancing on Cosmic Jello.
Oh.
Dancing on Cosmic Jello. An old friend called from the East Coast yesterday to tell me times are hard. I can't get anywhere, Ken said. I think that made up phrase dime a dozen. They made it up just to describe writers and artists in New York. Then he told me he had a story stuck in his computer that was a spell check away from being finished. I can't get myself to do it. He said, they're only going to pay me $80. Of course, you and I know what to tell Ken. We'd say, Ken, are you nuts? Just finish it. Send it in and use the $80 to pay your phone bill. But the truth is, Ken knows that too. Folks, how come we don't act on what we know when life gets difficult? How come we don't act on what we know to do when life gets difficult? Maybe it has something to do with that expression we all know, quote, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I don't like that phrase. I think most of us are already too tough. Instead, I prefer my cosmic Jello approach. It's a way of working in tune with the universe. A way of working in tune with the universe rather than forcing something out of the universe at gunpoint. It requires a shift of perspective. I imagine consciousness as an infinite sea of Jello. We've all got a spot on it. And when we move in tune with it in our own particular rhythm, right where we are, our wave in the Jello reverberates through the whole cosmos. What comes back around to us from an unexpected direction is what we actually need. It may not be what we thought we needed. It may not be what we wanted. There's a trick to cosmic Jello dancing. You step with positive intent and wide-eyed expectancy. Take your steps with positive intent and wide-eyed expectancy. You glide in cosmic Jello, opening to all possibilities. You whirl around without hanging on to how it's going to turn out. For a more sophisticated version, you can read Carl Jung on synchronicity or Lao Tzu on the Tao or Catherine Ponder on prosperity. I first experienced this as a kid in 1955 when Jello was in fact a major food group. At 13, I set out one Saturday to get a job. My mother thought this was an overly optimistic enterprise in our little Idaho mining town where times were actually tough. They were desperate, not just tough, they were desperate. But I interviewed every shopkeeper on Main Street and beyond, and they all said no. I remember standing at the end of the street at dusk, the end of the day, descending, reassessing what was important. Proving my mother wrong clearly outweighed any money, as did anything that might make me popular by the time I got to high school. My decision was made. I went back to the House of Flowers and told Mrs. Griffith that hers was the best business in town and that I would be working for her after school starting immediately and on Saturdays, and I would do it for free. She protested. I admired her corsage technique. She used glitter edged puffs amongst the roses and the carnation. And any high school girl with a shoulder to pin anything on wore Mrs. Griffin's creations on dance dates. She hesitated again. I assured her my future depended on glitter. Somehow, corsage proximity, I was confident would transform me into a popular girl. She then agreed. After a few weeks of free sweeping and dusting, I got on the payroll and I was up to my elbows in glitter. Now, I never became homecoming queen. What I got instead was an unshakable confidence that I could make something happen in the world by just being me. By dancing in the cosmic jello right where I was. Unfortunately, this is not something that I just once would have to learn because it is forgotten. Over the years, I've left a lot of skid marks on the jello. Fear breeds amnesia. And when I get scared, I still come sometimes to a dead stop and even sink. The way out, however, I discovered is to tell the truth about my predicament, unhook my objecting mind, and give my whole heart to what's right in front of me. Once when I did this, I took a terrible temporary job that would scarcely pay the rent. The job never got any better, but I did meet my future husband. Which leads me back to Ken. What if Ken were to run the spell check, hop on a train, and personally deliver his story? Maybe this isn't about $80 at all. Maybe it's about a train ride into town. Big deep breath. I loved seeing your giggles and imagining hearing them. Any insights, notices, learnings? What's your takeaway from the story?
Well, for me, it's you don't always have to look for the deeper meaning. Just go with the flow and see what happens.
I don't have to make everything have such a deep meaning. I can go with the flow and surrender to, I don't know what it all means. I've had so many examples this week from this trip I just got off from in Michigan, and having people come up to me and tell me things they've heard me say over the years that transformed their lives. And I asked, like, what was it? And one said, I heard you do a talk on, I've got to decide if I'm going to be a victim or a victor. I've got to decide. Victim or victor. One said, you said once, what if all I woke up with in the morning was what I prayed Thanksgiving over today? What if all I had tomorrow is what I gave thanks for today? One said, the fact that you called me back the day my daddy was dying. And that's somebody that I'm not technically their pastor. So it wasn't my job to call them back when their daddy was dying. I just did. It went on and on. What if we don't know what it's really about? And I know you've all had these experiences where you thought it was about one thing, and then when it was over, you found out there was more to it, or it was about something entirely different. Any other insights? What did hearing the story prompt in you or remind you of, or what's your takeaway? Anybody? Carrie, then Sue. Sorry, honey, I think I hit a button. Carrie, would you unmute?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What really resonated for me was fear breeds amnesia. Oh my gosh. You know, we could remember everything that we know in that moment. Oh my gosh, how much more, who knows what we'd be in IB. It's just amazing.
Yes, honey. And that was that particular section, like, it's not a one and done.
Mhm.
You know, this isn't, you, many of you who've studied with me so many years now, most of you, like it's a direction to go in, not a destination. I don't just arrive here, even if I know it, and then I have demonstrations of it, manifestations of it. There's still amnesia in it when the anxiety comes up, or the fear comes up, or the stress comes up. So it's not a one and done. Yeah. And which is, again, a daily practice, for whatever you want to call it, for me, of surrendering,
Mhm.
moment to moment, situation to situation. I think Jean Raman, you referred to it earlier, honey, like it's in any situation, again, to hear and to feel the hands on me that I've got this. This is alchemy. This is not what you thought it was going to be. You don't even know what you need. You'll get what you actually need, not what you thought you need.
Oh yeah.
Sue Rios, go ahead.
Well, for me, it's always, I just love things that are done with humor like that make me laugh. It's like, you'll get to me anytime if you say something using humor, like it just goes straight in, and I love it, you know, and it was just so fun the way it was written, and just loved it.
Yeah.
And of course, it reminds me, I've really been working lately. Sometimes you just feel like maybe a lot of the things that you've learned, they kind of all, you get them because I heard it for years that you could change your mind, but I don't know. I just had a really hard time making that fit. And lately I can wake up and feel real out of sorts, or maybe part of the day I do. And then it's like, I can recognize, like, you know what, I could keep going this way, but what gets me out of it is wherever I am, I just start being grateful for stuff. If I'm outdoors, I look at trees, I look at things that go, I never noticed that. I drive by it every day and I never noticed it. And I don't know, you can say those things, and I've said those things, but it's only when you experience, for me, it's only when I experience that I really get that I can change a day around. I can't
Well,
always, but mostly I can work with it.
Well, absolutely, honey. And you even your mind or something said it doesn't always change it, but it changes something. It may
Yeah.
not shift it like you want it to. It may not entirely lift it off of you, but there's nothing to lose by throwing on a dose of gratitude.
No kidding. And then it just, even if I can't fully get out of it, at least I know it's there. It's a
Absolutely.
possibility, even if it isn't happening.
Absolutely. So there's two ways to be miserable and not noticing the beauty around me, or miserable and noticing the beauty around me.
Yeah. That, and I don't know, sometimes I get overwhelmed by everything I have to do. It's one of the hardest things. And then I start looking at my life as an hourglass. It's like, no matter what, it's all going to funnel through here and come out here. It's all going to land. So it always has, it always will.
Yeah.
That helps too. I just have that hourglass image of it's all going to fit somehow.
It's powerful to hear, honey. Mhm.
Can I dovetail on that?
Sure.
Because I love that sense of like recognizing your frustration or your disquiet or whatever it is, and just trying to reframe that in some way. And what struck me in the story was this step with positive intent and wide-eyed expectancy. I love that phrase, wide-eyed expectancy, but open to all possibility without hanging on to how it's going to turn out. Because I find, I'm the queen of catastrophic thinking. And I've spent years trying to turn that around. And to your point about just like recognizing, like just being able to reframe something. So I love that. So, I recognize that I have this expectancy, right? But what am I expecting? And so if I can question what I'm expecting to come at me and open it up to the possibility of something with positive intent, and the expectancy becomes expecting something good to be coming at me, and to be able to let go of this. And to me, this whole past year of working on this surrendering with you has been, Martha, really about learning to step out of expecting a particular outcome. A lot of it has been, and I've spent so much of my life trying to control outcome. And I'm so much happier when I don't.
Well, thank you, honey, Judith. And that's a classic definition, honey, as far as I can tell, of surrender. And, Hadlin, I'm crazy about her. She's my 7-year-old great niece. Most of you have met her by now. And when we leave the house in the morning, we have a few intentions. And one is we're going to meet the friendliest, most helpful, supportive people on the planet. We're looking for them. They're all in our path. And then we'll run across somebody that gave us something nice or went out of their way or something. And we look at each other like, that was one of them. That was one of those people that we intended this morning. And it's fun. It adds a little frolic, which is some tail wagging in our day. And it doesn't mean there won't be some frustrations. It doesn't mean there won't be some challenges. And we're going about it with more wide-eyed expectancy and intending to find, and how the mind works, is going to find what it's looking for. It will find what it's looking for. And there's going to be other things in there, but there's also going to be friendly, supportive, helpful people in this case. We just say we're going to find the friendliest people on the planet are going to be in our experience today. As an example. You want to put your face in?
Sure.
No. Hadlin's here with me now, so she's in class with us too. Let me just read and see what stuck out to y'all. So see how you hear these again. So somebody's already pointed out fear breeds amnesia. The way out, this was important for me. The way out, I've discovered, is to tell the truth about my predicament. Unhook my objecting mind. And my favorite one, give my whole heart to what's in front of me right now. And one of you spoke about focus. Like, let me give my focus to what's in front of me right now. I also found meaning in just telling the truth. This friend that I was with, staying up there with, Helen and I stayed with the last few days. I was teasing her, like her house was a beautiful place on a lake, and we just had the best time staying there. And they have a hot tub, and the kids got in that hot tub every day we was there. Can we get in the hot tub? Can we get in the hot tub? We've got like 3 minutes. It's like, well, that's time enough. Let's get in the hot tub. Then the last night, it was about high heels. And I said, well, that could be the name of your book, Hot Tubs and High Heels. What else does a girl need? So now she's taking it on as her mantra, or her mantra, her essence, her claim to fame. And this little story about glitter, I was in glitter up to my elbows, and she was convinced that glitter was going to make her a popular girl, and glitter was going to elevate her to some kind of standard somehow. So it may not be glitter for us, but it may be finishing that book, or getting a painting done, or it may be finishing that manuscript, or whatever else there is. And I kind of used this week because I've sent another book off for publication. It seems to me like it was 2 months ago, and it didn't take this long on the first one. And this week I kind of said, if this is going to be, it's going to have to be this week. Like, I need a sign. I want to sign about this book. And I got it from the publisher today with a draft of the front cover page, and he's used some of my photography on the pages. So here comes another book with Martha Creek's name on it. And it's not a thing about the book. Like, I don't know a thing about what it's about, other than what I've said is I exist to serve those who serve. And I exist to get empowered teachings to the whole of the planet. So putting something in print is another way to do that. So I can't make it any of my business, whatever becomes of that. Who buys it, how many, or nothing else. Just me putting my whole heart into what's right in front of me now. And moving it on down the field. So I felt like that little girl standing out there asking people to do this, asking people to give her a job, and she couldn't get one. But she wasn't going home till she did something. So she made it not about money and just about getting a job. And she eventually got on the payroll and got paid and got to be playing glitter up to her elbows. It was also meaningful to me how many times I've got calls from people like Ken saying they're stuck in something. I've got a manuscript ready. All I got to do is spell check it. And I'll be like, snap out of it. Snap out of it. Finish that spell check. Send it over to me. I'll spell check it myself. And how much I want to unstick people. And how much it's not what it's about. Like, I can encourage Ken and you and cheerlead you and yay you and do whatever I can do. And you may never, ever do your spell check. You may never, ever send the manuscript in. And I don't want my peace hinging on that. So part of my acceptance and surrender is to allow for stuckness, what appears to be stuckness, which of course there's no such thing, but just a perception of stuckness. Anything else about the story? Anything stand out or strike you? Anything you can work with this week? And if you get the book, the story's right in the book on page 60.
Well, I have to say, I love the humor, but also the image of cosmic jello dancing. Right? I mean, yes, it's funny, but also just that sense of it being both solid and something that's going to reverberate and come back around.
Yes, and that
Yeah.
every step I make is having an impact on this.
Yeah.
Every step I make, every thought I think, every prayer I speak, every action I take is having influence, is having effect.
So then where I go with that is I want to make sure that that influence is what I want it to be. That's positive love going out into the world,
Right.
because it's gonna have an influence if I'm conscious of it or not.
Either way. Yeah.
Way.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments, questions? I want to read a little bit about another short summary of the integration of the symbols then. That our symbols also will indicate there could be tension. One example is if you have a spiral in position 1 and a square in position 5, you may be consciously yearning for change, which is represented by the spiral. But the part of you that is attached to security and stability, for example, the square, may be too afraid to make the change or unwilling to. So how to work with these tensions? Another instance of this tension could be if the circle is in position 1 and the cross is in position 5. These preferences may indicate a conscious desire for independence, which is represented by the circle. This would conflict at a very deep level with the desire for a relationship, which would be indicated by the cross. Can you relate to this? That there's a part of you that wants the independence, that likes the individuality, and another part that may desire or long for togetherness, relationship. And Dr. Murray Bowen wrote about these, and he called them internal life forces, and that they're opposing. So we have a need for togetherness, and we have a need for individuality. And you know this in your own relationships, those of you that are in relationships, because when you get too close to someone, when you get too close to them, too much intimacy, so to speak, you start to feel smothered, too uncomfortable, like, oh, too close, need space, oh, need a weekend, got to get away. Oh, can't you go to work? Can you take a fishing trip? Oh, need space. So that's too much togetherness. And then most of us can't just move a little. Instead of just moving out a little bit, we move way out here. Too much separateness, and then we get uncomfortable in the separateness. Then we feel cut off, alone, the longing, seeking. So then that's the tension and this cosmic dance of what's too much togetherness and what's too much separateness. And only you know. So think about those of you in relationship, and this could be with your siblings, your spouse, whoever. Doesn't have to be a marital relationship, and it could be. To think about this is often what we are in relationships, globbed on to one another. 12 steps would call it, when they itch, I scratch. Like, I don't know where they begin and end and where I begin and end. Then if that'll get too uncomfortable eventually. And we usually go out here to this position. 2 parts. So we lose touch with them. We cut off from them, get silent, shut down, get cold, withhold. And then that'll get uncomfortable too. And we can't bear it over time. So then think about a relationship then that exists like this, where there's a defined you and a defined me, and there's a space that we share. But I don't lose myself. I'm not trying to take over you. I'm not trying to draw my sense of self off of your sense of self. I know who I am, what I'm responsible for. I can define myself and not make you wrong or try to fill in the part of your life that doesn't really include me necessarily. And then this sweet middle part where our lives coincide. So use the symbols as you can to look at what some examples of tensions in your life may be, based on the circle being that of this wholeness and independence, and square being stability, triangle the goals and dreams. So that would also, the conflict between the goals and the dreams, and if that's in a position kind of adverse to a stability position, for example. Like, I wouldn't go forward with my goals and dreams if I thought it was going to risk my security, or I was going to have to use 401k money to fund something, for example. Okay. Another quote from Carl Jung. The powerful forces of the unconscious appear not just in clinical material, but in all activities humankind uses to experience itself. He advocated that these symbols are the psychological mechanism to transform this energy. So some of you have studied and read him, I'm sure. And I put him out here as an example of a psychologist encouraging us to continue to look at what's in our unconscious, because until the unconscious is made conscious, it's running the show. Until the unconscious is made conscious. So we looked at mandalas and encouraging you to daily draw the shape that's in your position 3 for sure. And then to draw positions 1, 3, and 5. And continue to play with that and see what you can discover and sense and carry on. And then get the book and see what else you can find in your own deeper dive into it than I've been able to do. Position 1 represents usually the place where we feel that we have the most value on. The text says it like this. Position 1, represented by the shape that you placed there, is the one that the person feels sure is the most valuable. Mine was wholeness, the circle. Position 2, the process carried by this shape in this position is an inherent strength. I described it in the first week as being, this is where, how is it I said it? See if I can find it. Anybody got their notes? Let's see how to, our strengths, summed up as strengths, whatever's in position 2. These are what you likely know about yourself, but other people would definitely see it in you. Position 3 is where our core work is right now. This is the position that must be attended to in order to follow the process that's operating the most deeply within our nature currently. And mine was triangle, which represents goals and dreams. Position 4 represents, is shown as something that may be challenging us in the past, but we've been motivated to work through it, and that position indicates that we have become more prepared about that. And it's prepared us to attend to whatever's our current work, our current position. And mine happened to be, that's where my cross was. And then position 5, whichever process is represented in your position 5, you may consider it unimportant or less priority. Persons tend to deny or resist the process related to the shape that's in this position. So this maybe will help you examine a little bit about where your tensions may be.
Can
This-
you also say that position 5 was representative, like unfinished business?
Okay. Unfinished business. And that we may deny that there's anything left there to do, so to speak. Or for me, like, don't roll over that log and see what worms are under it. Don't look behind the curtain. Keep your fantasies. However, knowing that they're fantasies is a clue too. Okay. Anything before we close? Questions, comments, insights, funnies, anything?
I've loved this series. I think it's really fascinating. There's just such simplicity to it, but I've found it really profound. So
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for speaking in, honey. Yeah. You're welcome, Greg. All of you, you're welcome. If you want to send a donation for it, for the time and the whatever you've gained from it, send it over through marthacreek.com. I'd also love you to go over to the YouTube and put in Martha Creek in my channel and subscribe and like there, because that's a way that these teachings can be uplifted and make it out into a greater audience. And then those of you that are interested in working more deeply together, I'm starting this immersive immersion process and extraordinary leading process again in September. And those of you that are in the group already have the information about it. And if you're not in the group and want information about this, it's an 8-month process that starts in September. And I don't want to take the time here to try to specify all of it. Just email me directly, marthacreek@gmail.com, and I'll send all of it to you in writing, a little bullet point list that describes the program. And then I can answer your questions there. And then come over there. Ron's opened up his camera here too. Reverend Ron Scott serves with me at the Spiritual Life Center up in Troy. And we have a virtual online ministry. This will be on their website. And you're welcome to come over there and have listen to the talks. I do 2 a month. Ron does one and another Unity minister does one, Anita. And you're welcome to listen there and subscribe there so you'll get the talks that come out of that center.
And
If
where
you-
is that again? What-
on YouTube, the Spiritual Life Center,
Spiritual life.
and then subscribe there. And then when we post our talks there every week, you'll get them right into your email. So that's another way to keep the teaching close to you as well.
It's on YouTube channel under SLC Troy for Spiritual Life Center, SLC Troy.
Thank you.
And then you can listen there or listen anytime you want to on your walks or whatever. And if you're available on Sunday, come on there and have coffee with us sometimes. Just join in the fellowship.
Hmm.
And then marthacreek.com, and you can start getting the email, the newsletters, which are once a month if you don't already get those, because that's where I outline kind of what I'm up to and where I'm going to be and these classes and things like that. That's about the only place that they're posted. Mhm.
Great.
Any way I can serve you? Anything you want to speak about before we close?
Can I just say one real quick thing, not really related to the class, but Bonnie, you're going through or facing the knee replacement surgery, and I was scared to death of it, and it's so not bad. Don't be afraid of it. Everybody at the hospital is so nice, and it was so much easier than I thought it would be. You know, you hear about things and you get real scared, and I had never had surgery or anything, but you'll be fine. It was so not as scary as I thought it would be, that I did it one at a time, and the second one I wasn't even afraid, and I was so scared I postponed it before.
Yeah.
So I know you'll be great.
Thank you, Sue, for
Don't worry, seriously. And I was a big chicken. So I just want to encourage you.
Martha,
yes. Mhm.
you said every thought, every word, every prayer, every action is having effect, and I have a feeling I missed one.
Well, no telling what I said, honey. You'd have to listen to this to know, but
Okay,
every thought, I think, every prayer I speak or even don't speak, just hold in my heart. Every action I take, honey. So every thought, every word, every deed, every action has effect.
okay. Thank you.
So, you know, as I remember, and we have amnesia. So as I remember this, you know, that I'm going to be mindful about what I speak,
Oh,
more
definitely.
mindful about what I speak and mindful about what I say. Yeah.
And Martha, how would I get the last week's recording? You said
Just
ask
send it over an email, honey, and ask me for it. And then I'll forward it right out to you.
the Martha Creek at Gmail, right? Okay.
I'm so grateful that I was able to attend your class, Martha. I'm so grateful.
You're welcome. You're
Yeah.
very welcome. I am too, Monica. Yeah, me too. Anything more? Okay, I uplift you all in prayer. Judith, yay you, yay you, yay you, Jean, yay you, Carrie, yay you, Julie, yay you, Bonnie, yay you, Susan, yay you, Susan, yay you, Monica, yay you, Ron, yay you, Lenore, beautiful Lenore, my friend, yay you, Greg.
Yay, you, Martha.
Yeah, anybody's name I didn't call? Yay you, yay us.
Yay, us.
All blessings to you, always, 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 always. I look forward to any time we can share together and get directly in touch with me if there's some way I can support you specifically. Till next time.
Thank
Love
you, Martha.
Bye.
Okay, love you. Good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.